The single mom nurse saved a patient without knowing he was a mafia boss. He decided she mattered to him now. Everyone in his dangerous world thinks she's important too, and her quiet life will never be the same. The coffee was cold, but Emily Chin drank it anyway. Midnight shifts at Chicago Memorial had a rhythm. 3 car accidents, 2 overdoses, maybe a stabbing if the moon was full. 20 minutes into her shift, the ER hummed with its usual chaos. A teenager with a broken arm, an elderly man with chest pains, a woman in labor who'd gotten lost on the way to maternity. Normal, manageable, boring. Then the doors exploded open. Not figuratively. The automatic sensors couldn't keep up with the force, and the reinforced glass shuttered in its frame. Lucia's head snapped up from the chart she was updating as 8 men in dark suits stormed into the ER like a SWAT team breaching a meth lab. The lead man, tall, barrel-chested, with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow, raised a pistol toward the ceiling. He didn't fire. He didn't need to. The ER fell silent except for the babies crying in room 3. Everybody stops. The man barked. His voice had the flat authority of someone used to being obeyed. Nobody moves. Nobody calls the cops. 2 more men pushed through the entrance, carrying a third between them. The injured man's expensive suit was soaked black with blood. His head lolled forward, unconscious, shoes dragging across the linoleum and leaving wet red streaks. Dr. Hayes, the attending physician, stepped forward with his hands raised. "Sir, we need to shut up." The scarred man, clearly the lieutenant, swept the gun across the room. "Your best surgeon now." "I'm a trauma surgeon on duty," Hayes said, his voice steady despite the tremor in his fingers. "We'll take him too. He's got 3 gunshot wounds, chest, abdomen, shoulder. He's been bleeding for 22 minutes. The lieutenant's eyes were black ice. If he dies, everyone in this room dies with him. "Starting with you, doctor." Emily felt her pulse kick into combat tempo. The old familiar rhythm from Kandahar, from Helmand Province, from the forward operating base where she'd earned her trauma certification, with mortar rounds whistling overhead. Her hands studied, her vision sharpened. She'd left that life behind when Noah was born. Traded her combat medic uniform for scrubs, firefights for night shifts, IEDs for drunk drivers. She'd promised herself she was done with violence, but violence apparently wasn't done with her. The men hauled their boss onto a gurney. Up close, Emily could see he was younger than she'd expected, maybe 35, with sharp Mediterranean features going pale beneath olive skin. His breathing was shallow, rapid, bad signs. Dr. Hayes approached, and Emily saw his hands shaking as he reached for the man's wrist. Hayes was a good surgeon, great with scheduled operations, steady with standard trauma. But this wasn't standard. "Pulse is ready," Hayes announced. "BP is dropping. We need to get him 2 or 2. Start transfusions." "How long?" the lieutenant demanded. "Prep time, anesthesia, surgical setup. 15 minutes minimum." The heart monitor screamed. The injured man's vitals crashed, the rhythmic beeping dissolving into a continuous wail. He was coding. Hayes froze for 1 terrible second. Every medical professional in that ER knew the same truth. This patient wouldn't survive 15 minutes. He probably wouldn't survive 5. The lieutenant raised his gun. "Save him." And Emily moved. She didn't think. Thinking got soldiers killed. She pushed past Hayes, her fingers already finding the man's carotid, confirming what the monitor screamed. No pulse. She ripped open his shirt, buttons scattering like shrapnel. Chest tube tray. She snapped at Jenny, the wide-eyed resident. "Thoracotomy kit crash cart." "Move." "Emily, what are you?" Hayes started. "He's got a hemothorax compressing his heart. Maybe worse. If we don't open him up right here, right now, he's dead in 2 minutes." She looked up at the lieutenant, meeting those cold eyes without flinching. "I can do this." but I need everyone to shut up and do exactly what I say." The lieutenant studied her for 3 seconds that felt like 3 hours. Then he nodded once. Lucia's training took over. Her hands became instruments of precision, moving with the muscle memory of a 100 battlefield surgeries, where sterile environment meant under a tarp while taking enemy fire. "Jenny, glove me. Hayes, bag him. Keep oxygen flowing." "You!" She pointed at the youngest suited man who looked barely 20. "Hold this light steady, or he dies." The kid's hands shook, but he held the surgical lamp. Emily made the incision, a swift, decisive cut between the ribs. Blood welled up and she heard Hayes gasp, but her hands never wavered. She spread the ribs with the retractor, exposing the chest cavity. There, the left lung was collapsed, blood filling the pleural space. But worse, she could see the pericardium bulging, distended with blood. Cardiac tamponade. The heart couldn't beat because it was drowning in its own blood. "Suction," she ordered. Jenny complied, trembling but steady. Emily made a window in the pericardium. Blood gushed out, and suddenly the heart, that beautiful, stubborn muscle, began to beat again. Weak, but beating. The monitor's scream changed to a beep. Slow, irregular, but alive. "Jesus Christ," Hayes whispered. Emily worked quickly, locating the bleeding vessels, clamping them. Her fingers were inside a human chest cavity in the middle of an ER with a gun pointed at her back, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Transfusion. O negative for units, start antibiotics. And for God's sake, somebody got an OR prepped so we can close them up properly. The ER erupted into controlled chaos. Nurses running, equipment wheeling, Hayes shouting orders into the phone. The medical machinery of a major hospital grinding back to life. Emily stepped back, her gloves slick with blood. The man on the gurney, whoever he was, whatever he'd done, would live, at least for now. The lieutenant lowered his gun. He stared at Emily with something that might have been respect, or might have been the first stirrings of fear. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. "Emily Chen. He's going to want to thank you." The lieutenant's scarred face revealed nothing. "My name is Victor, and you just saved the life of Adrian Black." The name meant nothing to Emily, but the way every nurse in the ER suddenly went still told her everything she needed to know. She'd just saved Chicago's most feared Mafia boss, and in doing so, she'd stepped into a world where debts were paid in blood. By 4 a.m., the ICU had become a fortress. Adrian Black occupied the entire West Wing. All 6 rooms cleared of patients, relocated to other floors with mumbled excuses about plumbing issues. Armed men stood at every entrance, their suits doing little to conceal the weapons underneath. They didn't bother with subtlety. They didn't need to. Emily finished her shift notes in the nurse's station, trying to ignore the 2 guards flanking the doorway. Her hands were steady now, the adrenaline crash still hours away. She'd been here before. The strange calm after saving a life, the mechanical process of documentation, while her body forgot how to feel afraid. Mission Victor appeared beside her desk without sound, and Emily hated how she flinched. Up close, the scar through his eyebrow looked like an old knife wound. His eyes were the color of muddy water, opaque, revealing nothing. "I need to finish these charts," Emily said, not looking up. "You need to answer my questions." It wasn't a request. Victor pulled up a chair, sitting too close, invading her space with deliberate intent. Intimidation, 101. Emily had dealt with aggressive soldiers, hostile locals, and one particularly unpleasant colonel who thought female medics were secretaries with first aid training. She met Victor's stare. "Ask, where did you learn to do that? That's surgery." "Army Combat Medic 3 tours in Afghanistan." "Why aren't you still in?" "I had a son. He needed a mother, not a folded flag." Victor's expression didn't change. "You have family in Chicago?" "Just my son, Noah." He's 7 in. The father, ex-husband. We share custody. Emily set down her pen, letting irritation creep into her voice. Is there a point to this interrogation, or are you just naturally nosy? A muscle twitched in Victor's jaw. Not used to push back then. Good. Mr. Black doesn't get shot by accident, Victor said softly. Someone inside his organization set him up. Someone who knew his schedule, his route, his security detail. And you think I'm that someone? I didn't even know who he was until you said his name. Convenient. No, it's called not being a criminal. Emily stood, gathering her charts. I'm a nurse. I save lives. It's literally my job. If you want to waste time suspecting me, that's your problem. Now, if you'll excuse me. Victor's hand shot out, gripping her wrist. Not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to stop her. You don't walk away when I'm talking. The ICU fell silent. Every nurse, every orderly, everyone pretending not to watch, suddenly found somewhere else to be. Let go, Emily said quietly. You don't understand what you've stepped into, what you've become part of by saving him. I understand perfectly. You're scared. Your boss almost died on your watch, and now you're scrambling to find someone to blame. But you're barking up the wrong tree. Emily pulled her wrist free and Victor let her. I did my job. That's all. She turned to leave and nearly collided with Dr. Hayes and 2 men in expensive suits. Hospital administrators judging by the panicked energy radiating off them. Nurse Chun, the taller one, said, his smile strained. I'm Richard Voss, hospital director. We need to discuss the situation. There's nothing to discuss. I performed emergency surgery. The patient is stable. You performed an unsanctioned thoracectomy in the ER, Voss said, sweat beading on his upper lip. Without proper authorization, without it, your patient would be dead. Emily kept her voice level. Would you prefer that outcome, Mr. Voss? Hayes cleared his throat. Emily, perhaps we should talk privately. A commotion erupted from room 3. Medical equipment beeped urgently and nurses rushed toward the sound. Emily moved on instinct, pushing past the administrators, past Victor, through the door where Adrian Black lay fighting his way to consciousness. His eyes snapped open, dark, intense, dilated with pain and morphine. He tried to sit up, and 3 different monitors shrieked in protest. His hand went to his chest, finding bandages instead of the wound he expected. Sir, you need to stay down, Jenny urged, trying to ease him back. You've had major surgery. Adrian's gaze swept the room, cataloging threats, calculating odds until his eyes locked on Emily. The room froze for 3 heartbeats. Adrian Black stared at the woman who reached into his chest and refused to let death take him. Emily stared back, refusing to look away first, refusing to show the fear that any sane person should feel. His voice came out rough, scraped raw. You, me, Emily confirmed. And you're going to lie back down before you tear your stitches. Something flickered in Adrian's eyes. Surprise, maybe, or amusement. Men like him weren't used to being ordered around, especially not by women, especially not by women covered in his blood. Victor stepped forward. Sir, we need to move you. The hospital wants. No. Adrian's attention never left Emily. What's her name? Emily Chen. Emily Chen, he repeated, tasting the syllables. Then Victor, still without breaking eye contact. No one touches her. She's under my protection now. Anyone lays a hand on her, they answer to me. Understood, sir. Understood. Victor's jaw clenched. Understood. Adrian's eyes finally closed, exhaustion pulling him back under. But before the morphine took him, he murmured something that made every guard in the room straighten. She saved my life. That means something. Emily stood frozen as medical staff rushed to check Adrian's vitals. Behind her she heard Voss whispering urgently about police involvement and media exposure. And liability. Victor brushed past her, his voice low enough only she could hear. Protection isn't a gift, Miss Chen. It's a leash. Then he was gone, barking orders to his men, transforming the ICU back into a war room. Emily looked at her hands, scrubbed clean now, but she could still feel the ghost of Adrian's heartbeat against her fingers. She'd saved his life, and now somehow he thought he owned hers. The October morning was cold enough that Emily could see her breath. She pulled her jacket tighter, crossing the hospital parking lot toward her 10-year-old Honda. 6 a.m. Noah would be waking up soon at Anoni's place, getting ready for school. She'd promised to pick him up after soccer practice, maybe grab pizza. Normal things. Safe things. A black sedan blocked her car. Two people leaned against it. A woman in a charcoal pants suit, and a man in a leather jacket that had seen better days. They had that unmistakable look. Cops trying not to look like cops, which made them look exactly like cops. Lucia's stomach dropped. Emily Chun. The woman pushed off the sedan holding up a badge. Detective Sarah Brennan, Chicago PD. This is my partner, Detective Miguel Ortiz. We need to talk. I just worked a 12-hour shift, Emily said. Whatever this is, it's about Adrian Black. Ortiz had kind eyes, which somehow made him more dangerous. The nice cop, the one who made you think talking was safe. We know what you did last night. I saved a patient's life. That's my job. Your job is to report gunshot wounds, Brennan said. She was all edges, sharp cheekbones, sharper voice. Federal law requires medical professionals to notify police of any gunshot injuries. You didn't call us? His people made sure nobody did. Lucia's hands tightened on her bag strap. I was busy keeping him alive. Call the hospital administration if you want to file a complaint. We're not here to file a complaint. Ortiz smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. We're here to offer you an opportunity. I don't want opportunities. I want to go home. Adrian Black runs the largest organized crime syndicate in Chicago, Brennan said, circling slowly. Predator instincts, drug trafficking, extortion, murder for hire. We've been trying to build a case against him for 3 years. And now you, she gestured at Emily, you've got access we'd kill for the parking lot suddenly felt very empty, very exposed. I don't have access to anything, Emily said carefully. I treated him. He's in ICU? That's it. That's not it. Brennan pulled out her phone, swiping to a photo. Security camera footage from the hospital. Adrian's hand reaching for Lucia's wrist. Victor leaning close, whispering, he put you under his protection. Do you know what that means? It means he's grateful. It means you're in. Ortiz stepped closer, voice dropping. Whether you want to be or not, his people will watch you, trust you, talk around you. You could be our eyes and ears inside his organization. Emily laughed, a short, bitter sound. You want me to spy on the Mafia? The same Mafia that has armed guards outside his hospital room. The same Mafia that threatened to kill everyone in the ER if he died. We can protect you, Brennan said. Like you protected him? He got shot 3 times. Brennan's expression hardened. Work with us, or we'll make your life very difficult. Is that a threat, Detective? It's a reality check. Brennan put her phone away. You have a son, right? Noah Chun, 7 years old, attends Riverside Elementary. Custody arrangement with your ex-husband, Mark Chen. Ice flooded Lucia's veins. Don't. We're not threatening your son, Ortiz said quickly, shooting Brennan a warning look. But think about it. How long before Black's enemies find out you saved him? How long before they decide your leverage? You think your custody arrangement survives when CPS learns you're associating with organized crime? I'm not associating with, you think a judge sees it that way? Brennan leaned in. Single mother, working night shifts, now under the protection of a known criminal. Mark could argue you're exposing Noah to danger. Hell, he'd be right. The words hit like bullets. Emily had fought tooth and nail for 50-50 custody after the divorce. Mark had tried everything, claiming she was unstable, that her PTSD from Afghanistan made her unfit, that Noah needed a stable home environment. Only her spotless work record and character witnesses had saved her. And now these detectives were threatening to destroy it all. "You can't do this," Lucio whispered. "We don't want to." Ortiz's voice was gentle, almost apologetic. "We want Black. You help us get him. We make sure your custody stays intact. We make sure CPS never gets a call about concerns regarding the mothers' associations." Brennan pulled out a business card, pressing it into Lucia's hand. "You have 48 hours to think about it. After that, we start making official inquiries. Hospital records, background checks, the kind of paperwork that ends up in family court. This is blackmail. This is justice." Brennan's smile was cold. "Black has killed people. Emily destroyed families. You really want to protect him?" "I want to protect my son. Then help us Ortiz open the sedan door. Call that number when you're ready to do the right thing." They drove away, leaving Emily standing alone in the parking lot, the business card burning in her palm. Her phone buzzed. A text from Mark, running late. "Can you pick up Noah from school instead of practice? Need to talk about some things." The timing couldn't be coincidence. Emily looked back at the hospital where armed men guarded a mafia boss who thought he owned her loyalty. Then down at the card where detectives wanted to turn her into a spy. And somewhere in between, her 7-year-old son was the bargaining chip everyone wanted to play. She'd thought saving Adrian Black would be the hard part. She'd been wrong. Emily picked up Noah at 3:15 p.m., her eyes gritty from lack of sleep. He bounced out of Riverside Elementary with his backpack hanging off one shoulder. Soccer ball tucked under his arm, gap-toed smile, making her heart ache. "Mom, guess what? I scored 2 goals at recess." She hugged him tight, breathing in the kid's smell of grass stains and grape juice. "That's my champion. Dad says I'm getting really good. He says maybe I should practice more at his house." Noah's voice carried that careful neutrality kids learn when their parents are divorced. Testing waters, choosing words. "You practice plenty, baby." Emily buckled him into the back seat. "How about ice cream before dinner? Dad says sugar before dinner is bad." Of course he did. Mark had opinions about everything she did. Her parenting, her job, her life. The divorce was 2 years old, but his criticism felt fresh every time Noah paraded it back. Her phone rang as they pulled out of the school parking lot. Unknown number. "Hello, Miss Chun. This is Patricia Nolas from Null's Family Law. I represent you in your custody arrangement." Lucia's grip tightened on the steering wheel. "Yes, I remember. We need to meet today if possible. Something's come up." The professional worry in Patricia's voice made Lucia's stomach clench. "What happened?" "Not over the phone. Can you come to my office at 5? I know it's short notice, but this is time-sensitive." Emily glanced at Noah in the rear-view mirror, absorbed in his iPad. "I'll be there." Patricia Knowles had an office in a renovated brownstone in Lincoln Park, the kind of place that charged by the minute and made you feel it. Emily left Noah with her neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, promising she'd only be an hour. She was walking into a trap. She knew it, but knowing didn't help. Patricia was 50-some with steel-gray hair and the exhausted efficiency of someone who'd seen every dirty divorce trick in the book. She didn't waste time on pleasantries. Mark filed an emergency motion this morning. She slid a stack of papers across her desk. "He's requesting a modification to your custody arrangement. He wants full custody with supervised visitation for you." The room tilted. "What? On what grounds?" "He's claiming you're exposing Noah to dangerous criminal elements, that your work environment has become unsafe." Patricia tapped the document. "Specifically, he mentions your involvement with Adrian Black." There it was. The hammer dropping. "How does he even know about that?" Lucia's voice came out strangled. It happened less than 24 hours ago. It hasn't been in the news. Someone told him Patricia's expression was grim. Someone with access to hospital records or police reports, and they told him fast. The detectives. It had to be. Brennan's threat wasn't hypothetical. It was already in motion. I treated a patient, Emily said desperately. That's all. I didn't know who he was. I was doing my job. I believe you. But Anoni's filing paints a different picture. Patricia read from the motion. The mother has willingly involved herself with known organized crime figures, placing herself, and by extension, the minor child in direct danger. Armed criminals have been observed near the mother's workplace. The mother has shown reckless disregard for the child's safety and well-being. That's insane. I'm trying to protect Noah from all this. It doesn't matter if it's insane. It matters if a judge believes it. Patricia leaned forward. Emily, I need you to be completely honest with me. Are you involved with Adrian Black beyond treating him as a patient? No. Are his people watching you? Emily thought of the black SUVs she'd noticed near her apartment that morning, the suited man lingering outside the coffee shop where she'd grabbed breakfast. I think so, but I didn't ask for that. It doesn't matter if you asked. Perception is reality in family court. Patricia pulled out another document. There's more. Mark is also claiming you have PTSD from your military service that you failed to properly manage, that you're working excessive hours, that Noah has mentioned being scared when you have nightmares. The betrayal cut deep. Noah had climbed into her bed one night last month after she'd woken screaming from a dream about Kandahar. She'd held him, explained that sometimes Mommy's brain remembered scary things, promised him she was okay. He'd fallen back asleep in her arms, and Mark had used it as ammunition. He's twisting everything, Emily whispered. He's building a case. And frankly, with this Black situation added on top, he's got a decent shot. Patricia's voice softened. I need to ask, is there any possibility this timing is connected? The shooting happens. You save Black, and within 24 hours your ex-husband knows about it and files for emergency custody. Lucia's mind raced. The detectives showing up this morning. Their threats about CPS. Anani's sudden motion. The speed of it all. Someone set this up, she said slowly. Someone wanted me squeezed from both sides. Who would want that? I don't know. But everyone seems very interested in making sure I cooperate with something. Emily stood pacing. The police want me to inform on Black. His people are watching me to make sure I'm protected. And now my ex-husband, who barely wanted 50-50 custody during the divorce, suddenly wants Noah full-time. The same day, Patricia was quiet for a moment. If you're right, if someone is orchestrating this, then they've picked the perfect pressure point. Your son. What do I do? Short term, we fight the motion. I'll argue it's retaliatory and unfounded. But Emily, Patricia's expression was sympathetic and terrifying at once. You need to distance yourself from anything involving Adrian Black. Any connection to organized crime, no matter how innocent, will destroy your custody case. One whiff of criminal association, and you lose Noah. Do you understand? Emily nodded, though understanding didn't help. How could she distance herself when Black had declared her protected when his enemies might already see her as a target? When detectives were threatening to manufacture evidence if she didn't cooperate? She was drowning and everyone was holding her head underwater. The hearing is in 5 days, Patricia said. Stay clean. Stay away from anything that looks bad. And for God's sake, if the police contact you again, call me first. Emily drove home in a daze. When she picked up Noah from Mrs. Rodriguez, he was quiet, sensing her mood the way kids do. Mom, are you and Dad fighting again? No, baby. Everything's fine. But Noah was 7, not stupid. He squeezed her hand. Don't worry, he said. I'll tell the judge. I want to live with you. And that nearly broke her. 2 days after the shooting, Emily returned to work for a regular shift. She had requested a different floor anywhere but ICU, but the hospital was short-staffed. Hayes had looked at her with apologetic eyes and assigned her to the cardiac unit, right next to where Adrian Black was recovering. She avoided his room, checked on other patients, updated charts, helped an elderly woman with her medications. Anything to stay away from the West Wing where armed men still stood guard. It didn't work. Nurse Chun Victor appeared in the hallway, his presence like a cold draft. "Mr. Black is asking for you." "I'm busy," he insists. "Tell him I'm not his personal nurse. There's a whole staff." "He insists," Victor repeated, and this time there was steel beneath the words. "Unless you'd like me to bring him down here in his condition." Emily set down the medication tray harder than necessary. 5 minutes. Victor's smile was thin. He'll be grateful. Adrian's room had been transformed. The standard hospital bed replaced with something larger, more comfortable. Fresh flowers on the windowsill. Expensive ones, not bodega bouquets. A laptop on the side table, quietly playing what sounded like opera. The Mafia boss sat propped against pillows, still pale but significantly improved. His dark eyes tracked her as she entered, and she hated how aware she became of his attention. "Miss Shun?" His voice was stronger now. "Please sit. I'm working." 5 minutes. "You said as much to Victor," the corner of his mouth lifted. "I heard you in the hallway. You're not quiet when you're angry." Despite herself, Emily felt heat creep up her neck. "What do you want, Mr. Black?" "Adrian," he gestured to the chair beside his bed. "Please, I don't bite. Your men threatened to kill everyone in the ER if you died. Forgive me if I don't trust your gentle nature." That earned an actual smile. "Fair point, but I'm not going to hurt you. I wanted to thank you properly. You already had Victor tell me I'm protected." "Thanks received. That's not a thank you. That's a necessity." Adrian shifted slightly, wincing. "You saved my life in a way that was impressive. Terrifying. Also impressive. Where did you learn to do that?" "Army combat medic. Afghanistan. You've seen war. Different kind than yours." "Not so different." Adrian's expression grew thoughtful. "You make decisions under pressure. Life or death in seconds. You don't hesitate. Is there a point to this conversation?" "The point is gratitude." He reached for something on the side table. A manila envelope thick with papers. "I want to offer you compensation. $4 million tax-free. Consider it a consulting fee." Emily stared at the envelope like it might explode. "No, it's not charity. You earned it. I don't want money from the Mafia." From a grateful patient, then no. Emily crossed her arms. "I don't want anything from you, Mr. Black. I did my job. You're alive. That's enough." Adrian studied her with those unsettling dark eyes. "You're in danger because you saved me. My enemies will come after you to hurt me. The money would help you relocate, protect your son." "How do you know about my son?" Lucia's voice went cold. "I know about the custody hearing, about your ex-husband's sudden motion, about the detectives who cornered you in the parking lot." Adrian set the envelope aside. "I make it my business to know about people who matter. I don't matter to you. I'm a nurse who happened to be working that night. You matter because you saved my life in my world. That creates a debt." Adrian's tone was patient, explaining something he considered obvious. "I pay my debts, then consider it paid. We're even. Done." "That's not how this works." "That's exactly how this works." Emily leaned forward, meeting his gaze directly. "I don't want your money. I don't want your protection. I don't want anything that ties me to your world. I have a son to think about, a custody battle to win, and associating with you makes all of that impossible. So thank you for the offer, but no." Silence stretched between them. Outside, a heart monitor beeped steadily. Someone laughed down the hallway. Normal hospital sounds from an abnormal situation. "I respect that," Adrian said finally. "You're trying to keep your son safe. I understand, but my protection isn't optional. It's already in place. My enemies don't care that you want distance. They'll come anyway. Then tell your men to leave me alone. I can't do that. Not until the threat is neutralized. How long will that take?" "However long it takes to find who ordered my assassination." Adrian's expression hardened. "Someone close to me. Someone I trusted. And when I find them, they'll wish they'd succeeded in killing me." The casual violence in his voice sent ice down Lucia's spine. This was the real Adrian Black, not the grateful patient, but the man who'd built an empire on fear. She stood. "I need to get back to work. Emily," he stopped her with just her name. "I know what the police want from you, what they've threatened, and I know what your ex-husband is trying to do." "How?" "Because I've been where you are." Trapped between bad choices, Adrian's eyes were steady, sincere in a way that felt more dangerous than his threats. "You don't have to choose. Not yet. Just be careful. Trust is currency in my world. And right now, you're one of 3 people I trust. Who are the other 2? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "That's the problem. I'm not entirely sure." After Emily left, Victor entered the room. He'd been listening, of course, always listening. "She refused the money," Victor said. "Yes, she wants nothing to do with us." "Yes. So why keep protecting her?" Adrian was quiet for a moment, staring at where Emily had stood. "Because she's genuine. In a world of lies, she told me no. Do you know how rare that is?" Victor's jaw tightened. "She's a liability. She knows nothing, owes us nothing, and creates complications we don't need. She saved my life. So you've said multiple times." Victor's voice carried an edge. "But sentiment doesn't keep you alive, Adrian. Strategy does. She's a loose end. She's under my protection." "That's final." After Victor left, his displeasure evident in every rigid line of his shoulders, Adrian made a call. "Watch her," he instructed. "Close but not obvious. And find out who leaked information to her ex-husband. Someone's playing games, and I want to know who." He hung up and stared at the manila envelope full of cash that Emily Chin had refused without hesitation. In his entire life, no one had ever said no to Adrian Black's money. It was, he realized, the most interesting thing that had happened to him in years. The black Escalade appeared on Tuesday. Emily noticed it parked across from her apartment building when she left for her shift, still there when she returned home at dawn. Wednesday, a different vehicle, a black Lexus sedan, idled near Noah's school during pickup. She told herself it was Adrian's protection. Annoying, but harmless. Thursday night changed everything. Emily finished her shift at 11's shower, exhausted from a brutal emergency that had kept her 3 hours past clock out. The parking garage was nearly empty, fluorescent lights humming overhead, casting sickly yellow shadows. Her Honda sat in its usual spot on level 3. She clicked the key fob, heard the locks disengage, reached for the door handle. Another car's engine roared to life. Emily spun. A dark SUV, not one of Adrian's, something older, dented, accelerated toward her from the far end of the garage. No headlights, just engine and speed. Training kicked in. She dove between 2 parked cars as the SUV screamed past close enough that the side mirror clipped her jacket. Brakes squealed. The vehicle spun around for another pass. Emily ran. She sprinted toward the stairwell. Keys clutched like a weapon, heart hammering. The SUV's engine growled behind her. Getting closer. She wasn't going to make it. 2 gunshots cracked through the garage. The SUV swerved violently, one tire exploding. It crashed into a concrete pillar with a sickening crunch of metal. Emily hit the ground, arms over her head, as the world erupted into chaos. More gunshots, returned fire, the sound bouncing off concrete walls until she couldn't tell which direction it came from. She crawled behind a pickup truck, making herself small, breathing through her nose to stay quiet. This was Kandahar again. This was mortars and ambushes, and the particular terror of not knowing where the enemy was. Get her out of here. A man's voice familiar, Victor. Then he was there pulling her up by the arm, shoving her toward another figure in a dark suit. Go with Marco. Now. What's happening? They came for you. Victor fired 3 more shots toward the crashed SUV. Move, Marco. Younger, scared but following orders, grabbed Lucia's hand and ran. They burst through the stairwell door, took the stairs 3 at a time, emerged into the night air, where yet another black Escalade waited with the engine running. Get in! Emily didn't argue. She dove into the back seat. Marco jumped in beside her. The driver, a woman with a blonde ponytail and cold efficiency, hit the gas before the door fully closed. They peeled out of the hospital complex doing 60 in a 30 zone. Are you hurt? Marco checked her over with frantic eyes. Did they touch you? No, I'm fine. What? Who are they? Salvatore crew, the driver said. Eyes on the rear view mirror. They've been trying to find weak spots since the boss got hit. Congratulations. You're officially a weak spot. Lucia's stomach dropped. They were trying to kidnap me. Probably kill you, actually, Marco said apologetically. Kidnapping's too much work, but either way, you're leverage against Mr. Black. I barely know him. Doesn't matter. He put you under protection. That means you matter to him. That makes you a target. The driver took a corner fast enough to make the tires squeal. I'm Lena, by the way. Try not to throw up in my car. Lucia's phone rang. She pulled it from her pocket with shaking hands. Matteo, are you hurt? His voice was tight with controlled fury. No. Your people got there in time. Good. Lena is taking you to a safe location. You'll stay there tonight. No. I need to get Noah. Already done. Marco's brother picked him up from your ex-husband's place 20 minutes ago. They're meeting you at the apartment. Ice flooded Lucia's veins. You took my son. I protected your son, Adrian corrected. The same people who came for you know where he lives. They know his school schedule. They know everything. Would you prefer? I left him exposed. Emily wanted to scream, to throw the phone, to somehow reach through it and strangle this man who turned her entire life into a war zone. You had no right. I had every right. You're under my protection whether you want it or not. That extends to Noah. His voice softened slightly. Emily, I know you're angry. Be angry, but be angry and alive. Those men would have killed you tonight to hurt me. This isn't a game. I never asked for this. No, you asked to save my life. These are the consequences. The line went dead. Lena pulled up to a building in River North. Expensive, modern, the kind of place with doormen and security cameras everywhere. She led Emily through a private entrance up an elevator that required a key card into a penthouse apartment that probably costs more per month than Emily made in a year. Noah sat on the leather couch clutching his backpack, looking small and scared. A kind-faced man in his 40s sat nearby, Marco's brother presumably trying to make conversation about soccer. Mom! Noah launched himself at her. Emily caught him, holding tight, feeling his heartbeat against hers. I'm here, baby. I've got you. They said there was an emergency, that you needed me. I got scared. I know, I'm sorry. She pulled back, checking him over. No injuries, just fear. We're safe now. Why are we here? Whose house is this? Good question. Emily looked at Lena, who shrugged. Safe house belongs to Mr. Black's organization. You'll stay here until the threat is neutralized. How long will that take? Depends how fast the boss finds who's trying to kill him. Lena handed Emily a phone. New pre-programmed. Your number's compromised. Use this. Food's in the kitchen. Building security is ours. Don't leave without telling us first. This is kidnapping. This is protection." Lena's expression was sympathetic but firm. "I know it doesn't feel like a favor, but those men in the garage, they were going to put a bullet in your head and dump you in the Chicago River. This?" She gestured around the luxury apartment. "This is keeping you alive." After Lena and the others left, Emily stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the city lights. Behind her, Noah had found the TV and was watching cartoons. His fear already fading the way kids' fears do when adults pretend everything's fine. But nothing was fine. She was trapped in a gilded cage, protected by the very people whose world had made her a target. Her son had been swept up in Mafia business. Somewhere out there, people wanted her dead. And Adrian Black, the man she'd saved, now controlled every aspect of her life. Her phone, the new one, buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You're welcome," and Emily almost threw it across the room. 3 days in the safe house felt like 3 weeks. Noah adjusted faster than Emily. He thought the penthouse was cool, made friends with the guards who taught him card tricks, and treated the whole thing like an adventure. Kids were resilient that way, or maybe just oblivious. Emily spent the time pacing, making calls to Patricia about the custody hearing and avoiding the news coverage of gang violence near Chicago Memorial Hospital. They were calling it a turf war, close enough to the truth. On the 4th night, Marco knocked on the door at 11 p.m. "Mr. Black wants to see you. Now it's almost midnight. He's having complications, chest pains. Won't let anyone treat him except you." Marco looked apologetic. "He's insistent." Emily glanced back at Noah, asleep in the guest bedroom. "I can't leave him. Lena's here. She's got 3 kids of her own. He'll be safe." 20 minutes later, Emily sat in the back of an Escalade, watching the city blur past. They drove north into Evanston, then beyond into estate country where properties had gates and privacy and enough land that neighbors couldn't hear gunshots. Adrian's home was exactly what she expected. Sprawling, modern, expensive, in a way that whispered rather than shouted. Security cameras everywhere, guards at every entrance. They led her through marble hallways to a study on the 2nd floor. Dark wood, leather furniture, walls lined with books that looked actually read. A fire crackled in the fireplace despite the mild October evening. Adrian sat in a high-back chair, laptop open, looking pale but composed. Victor stood near the window. 2 other men she didn't recognize occupied the other chairs. Older, expensive suits. The kind of men who made decisions that destroyed lives. "Gentlemen, give us the room," Adrian said when Emily entered. Victor's jaw tightened. "Sir, we haven't finished." "Well, continue later. Leave us." The men filed out, Victor last, throwing Emily a look that promised violence if she stepped wrong. The door closed with a heavy click. "You said you had chest pains," Emily said. "I lied." Adrian closed the laptop. "I need an excuse to bring you here that Victor wouldn't question. Have a seat." "I don't want to sit. I want to go back to my son in a moment. First, we need to talk." Adrian stood moving carefully, one hand pressed to his ribs. "The attack at the hospital wasn't random. The Salvatore crew doesn't move without orders from higher up. I figure that much out. What you don't know is why." He crossed to a cabinet, poured 2 glasses of whiskey, offered her one. She refused. He shrugged and drank both. "Someone in my organization set me up. Someone close enough to know my schedule, my route, my security detail. They gave that information to my enemies. Why tell me this? Because you're caught in the middle of it." And because Adrian paused, choosing words carefully. "I trust fewer people than fingers on one hand. You just became one of them." Emily laughed bitterly. "You don't know me. I know you refused A4 million. I know you saved my life twice now. Once on the operating table. Once by noticing those men in the garage before they killed you. I know you're honest in a world where honesty gets people killed. He met her eyes. That's more than I know about men I've worked with for years. That's insane. That's survival. Adrian returned to his chair, wincing. There's a traitor in my organization. Someone high up. Someone who wants me dead badly enough to risk war with the families. And you think I can help with that because you're outside it. You see things my people don't. He gestured to the chair again. Please, I'm recovering from being shot. Looking up at you is hell on my neck. Against her better judgment. Emily Saturday. I'm playing weak, Adrian continued. Slower to recover than I actually am. More vulnerable. I need whoever ordered the hit to think they've damaged me enough to make another move. You're using yourself as bait. I'm smoking them out. But I need someone I trust watching, listening. Someone who wouldn't normally be in these conversations. I'm a nurse, not a spy. Exactly. No one suspects the medical staff. Adrian leaned forward. I'm not asking you to inform on me to the police. I'm asking you to help me find the person who's trying to kill me. The same person whose associates tried to kill you. Lucia's mind raced. This was insane. Every instinct screamed at her to refuse to demand he take her back to the safe house to somehow extract herself and Noah from this nightmare. But Adrian was right about one thing. Someone had tried to kill her. And until that person was caught, she and Noah were targets. What exactly are you asking me to do? Stay close. When I need medical attention, and I will. I'm legitimately not fully healed, you provided. Watch my people. Listen to what they say around you. Medical staff are invisible in my world. They see and hear everything. You want me to spy on your own organization. I want you to help me survive. There's a difference. Before Lucia could respond, voices erupted in the hallway. Raised, angry, she recognized Rose's tone. Sharp, defensive, can't keep making decisions based on sentiment. Watch her tone. Another man's voice. He's still your boss. For how long? He's weak, distracted. That nurse has him. The door opened suddenly. Victor stopped mid-sentence, his eyes going wide as he saw Emily sitting in the study. For 3 terrible seconds, nobody moved. Then Adrian laughed cold. Dangerous. Please, Victor, continue. I'm fascinated to hear what my second-in-command really thinks. Victor's face drained of color. Sir, I didn't. You didn't mean for me to hear, or you didn't mean to question my judgment. Adrian's voice could have cut glass because it sounded very much like you were discussing my fitness to lead. The older man who'd followed Victor, the consigliere, Emily realized, recognizing him from earlier, stepped forward smoothly. A misunderstanding. Victor was simply expressing concern for your health. We all want you fully recovered. Of course, Adrian's smile never reached his eyes. My health? How thoughtful. Victor's hand flexed at his side, unconscious tell, reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. Emily saw it, and from the slight narrowing of Adrian's eyes, he saw it too. We'll finish this conversation tomorrow, Matteo said. When I'm feeling stronger, you're dismissed. After they left, the silence in the study was deafening. You see now, Adrian said quietly, why I need someone I can trust. Lucia's mouth was dry. Victor, you think it's Ro? Victor or someone close to him or someone using him? Adrian stared at the closed door. I've known him 10 years. He saved my life twice, and now I can't be certain he won't be the one to end it. What will you do? Find proof, then handle it. He turned to her, and for the first time, Emily saw something other than the calculating crime boss. She saw exhaustion, fear, loneliness. Will you help me? Every rational thought told her to refuse, to grab Noah and disappear. Consequences be damned. But she thought of the men in the parking garage, the custody battle, the detectives' threats. She was already drowning in this world. The only question was whether she'd drown alone or with allies. I'll watch, Emily said. Finally. I'll listen. But I won't lie. I won't plan evidence. And if anyone asks me directly, I won't cover for you. Fair enough. And when this is over, when you find your traitor, you let me and Noah go. No more protection. No more guards. We disappear from your world. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. You have my word. They shook hands, hers and steady, his warm and calloused. Emily had made a deal with the devil. She could only hope she'd live long enough to regret it. The infection started on day 6. Emily noticed the fever first when she checked Adrian's vitals during her evening visit. His forehead burned under her palm, and the surgical site showed early signs of inflammation, red, slightly swollen, warm to the touch. You've been overdoing it, she said, preparing antibiotics. I told you to rest. I can't afford to rest. Adrian's voice was rough. Not when someone's planning my funeral. They'll get their chance if you keep ignoring medical advice. She cleaned the wound site, noting his sharp intake of breath. This could turn into sepsis if we don't handle it now. Then handle it. For the next 3 hours, Emily worked. She debrided the infected tissue, placed new drains, started for antibiotics. Adrian endured it all with gritted teeth and white knuckles, refusing pain medication because he needed to stay sharp. Stubborn idiot. By midnight, his fever had broken. He lay back against the pillows in his private recovery room, exhausted, shirt open to expose the fresh dressings. You should sleep, Emily said, packing her supplies. Stay. The word came out softer than a command, almost a request. Just for a few minutes, talk to me. Emily should have left, should have maintained professional distance. But something in his voice, vulnerability masked as practicality, made her sink into the chair beside his bed. What do you want to talk about? Anything. Tell me about Afghanistan. So she did. Small stories, safe ones. The military humor that kept soldiers sane. The friendships forged under fire. The strange beauty of desert sunrises. She kept it light, avoided the dark parts, the casualties she couldn't save, the nightmares that still woke her screaming. Adrian listened like her words were precious, like someone starving being offered food. You miss it, he observed. Not the war, but the purpose. Maybe. Emily studied his face in the dim light. Everything was clear there. Save lives. Follow orders. Come home here. Nothing's clear here. You're saving my life. Seems pretty clear here. I'm trapped in your world because I did my job. That's not purpose. That's consequence. Adrian was quiet. Then my father died when I was 8. Car accident. My mother married his business partner 6 months later. The sudden shift caught Emily off guard. Adrian never talked about himself. He asked questions, deflected, maintained control of every conversation. The partner, Johnny, he didn't want a stepson, especially not one who looked like his father. Adrian's eyes were distant, seeing the past. He sent me to boarding school, military academy actually. Said it would make a man out of me. Did it? It made me understand power. The boys with family connections got privileges. The ones without got hazed, beaten, discarded. I learned to watch, to listen, to find leverage. By the time I was 14, I had half the school doing favors for me. That's when you decided to join the family business. That's when I decided to take it over. His smile was bitter. Johnny thought I was weak. Thought I'd stay quietly in the background, grateful for scraps. He didn't expect me to build alliances with the other families. Didn't expect me to learn every secret in his organization. What happened to him? He retired comfortably. I'm not a monster. Emily Adrian met her eyes. I don't kill for sport, but I also don't let threats to my power survive. It's survival, not cruelty. Is there a difference? Sometimes, not always. Emily stood, moving to the terrace doors. The night was clear, Chicago's lights spreading like fallen stars. Why tell me this? Because you asked me what I wanted to talk about, and I'm tired of pretending. Adrian's voice was rough with exhaustion and honesty. Do you know what it's like? Being surrounded by people, never trusting any of them. Every smile might hide a knife. Every conversation might be a trap. Sounds lonely. It is. He laughed quietly. You're the first person in years who looks at me and doesn't see what they can gain. You just see a patient who won't follow orders. Despite herself, Emily smiled. A very stubborn patient. I've been called worse. She returned to his bedside, checking his one more time. His hand caught hers, gentle, not demanding. Thank you, Adrian said. For staying, for listening. It's late. You need rest, Emily. He held her gaze. When this is over, when you take Noah and disappear from my world, I'll miss these conversations. Something twisted in Lucia's chest. Sympathy maybe, or recognition. One lonely person seeing another. Get some sleep, Adrian. She left before he could say anything else. Before she could examine why his loneliness resonated so deeply. Across town in a private room at an exclusive club, Victor met with the consigliera. Daniel Caruso was 62, silver-haired with the smooth manner of someone who'd orchestrated murders over expensive wine. He'd been with the Black family for 30 years, serving Adrian's father before him. He's getting soft, Victor said, accepting a glass of scotch. The nurse has him distracted. Good, Daniel smiled. Distracted men make mistakes. The second attempt failed. Our contact with the Salvatore crew is dead. Adrian's tightening security. Then we change tactics. Daniel leaned back. He cares about the woman now and her son. They've become his weakness. Victor frowned. You want to hit the kid? I want Adrian broken before we kill him. Grieving vulnerable, Daniel's eyes glittered. The woman saved his life twice. He's emotionally invested in keeping her safe. When she dies, when her son dies, and Adrian realizes he couldn't protect them despite all his power, he'll be destroyed. He'll be careless. And that's when we strike. Daniel raised his glass to new strategies. Victor clinked glasses, but his expression was troubled. The woman's innocent. The kid's 7 years old. This is business, Victor, not personal. Daniel's voice hardened. You wanted to take over the organization. This is the price. Are you in? Or should I find someone with a stronger stomach? Victor thought of Adrian's distrust, his weakening grip on power. The empire that could be his if he just had the courage to take it. I'm in. Good. I'll make arrangements. Something tragic. An accident, perhaps. Gas leak in that safe house where they're staying. Daniel smiled. Adrian will blame himself. He'll spiral. And when he's at his lowest, you'll be there to take control. Reluctantly, of course, for the good of the organization. And if he suspects, he already suspects. But suspicion without proof is meaningless. Daniel finished his drink. By the time he is proof, he'll be too devastated to care. In his recovery room, Adrian lay awake, staring at the ceiling. His chest ached, not from the surgery, but from something harder to name. He told Emily the truth. He was tired of pretending, tired of isolation, and for the first time in his carefully controlled life, that terrified him more than any assassin. The emergency custody hearing was scheduled for Friday morning at 9 a.m. Emily wore her best professional outfit. Navy blazer, modest blouse, pearl earrings her mother had given her, armor for a different kind of battle. Patricia sat beside her at the plaintiff's table, organizing documents with practiced efficiency. Across the aisle, Mark looked smug. His lawyer, expensive, the kind you hired when you suddenly had money, whispered something that made him smile. Judge Ellen Hartwick entered and everyone stood. She was in her 50s, reputation for being tough but fair. Emily had researched her obsessively. Hartwick had 3 kids of her own. Surely she'd understand. Be seated. This is an emergency hearing regarding modification of custody for minor child Noah Chin. Judge Hartwick adjusted her glasses. Mr. Patterson, you filed the motion. Make your case. Anoni's lawyer stood. A shark in a thousand suit. Your Honor, my client seeks full custody with supervised visitation for the mother due to serious concerns about the child's safety and well-being. He presented evidence like a prosecutor building a murder case, photos of black SUVs outside Lucia's apartment, hospital security footage showing armed men in the ER, news articles about gang violence near Chicago Memorial, a CPS report filed 2 days ago citing concerns about Lucia's associations with known criminals. The mother has become involved with Adrian Black, a documented organized crime figure, Patterson continued. She's currently residing in a location she refuses to disclose, surrounded by armed guards with the minor child present. This is not a stable environment. Your Honor, Patricia stood quickly. My client saved Mr. Black's life in her capacity as a medical professional. She has no personal relationship with him. The protection his organization provided was unsolicited and unwanted. Then why hasn't she gone to the police? Patterson countered. Why is she hiding in a secure location with her son surrounded by criminals if this is unwanted? Judge Hartwick looked at Emily. Miss Chun, why haven't you contacted law enforcement about these security concerns? Lucia's throat went dry. Because the police wanted her to spy. Because they'd threatened her custody if she didn't cooperate. Because trusting them meant trusting the same detectives who tipped off Mark in the first place. There were threats, Your Honor. People associated with Mr. Black's enemies came after me. His organization provided protection because you saved his life, Hartwick finished. And now you're essentially under his control. No, not control. Just protection. Can you return to your home? Not safely. Can you tell this court where you're currently staying? Emily glanced at Patricia, who shook her head minutely. Giving the address meant it entering public record, meant Mark knowing, meant anyone could find it. I can't, Your Honor, for safety reasons. Hartwick's expression hardened. Miss Chun, you understand how this looks? You're living in an undisclosed location surrounded by organized crime figures unable or unwilling to provide basic information to this court. Your Honor, she's protecting her son. Patricia argued the same people who threatened her know where her ex-husband lives. Moving Noah to a secure location was responsible parenting or involving him in criminal activity. Patterson produced another document. We also have concerns about Ms. Chen's mental health. Her PTSD from military service combined with this current stress. My PTSD is managed, Emily interrupted. I have nightmares occasionally. That doesn't make me unfit. Does Noah know about the nightmares? He's seen me wake up once. I explained it to him age-appropriately. And the incident where you performed unauthorized surgery in an ER, highly irregular, potentially unstable behavior. I saved a man's life. Order. Judge Hartwick's voice cut through the tension. Miss Chun, I understand you acted heroically, but Mr. Patterson raises valid concerns. You're living in hiding. Your son is surrounded by armed criminals, and you refuse to provide basic information to this court. Because someone leaked information about me to my ex-husband within hours of the incident, Emily said desperately. Someone who wants me compromised. If I give you that address, Noah's safety is at risk. Hartwick was quiet for a long moment. I'm ordering a full CPS evaluation. Miss Chun, you will cooperate fully, including disclosing your current location to the investigator under seal. I'm also ordering a psychological evaluation to assess your PTSD and current mental state. Lucia's stomach dropped. Your Honor, until these evaluations are complete, custody remains as currently ordered, but with modifications. All exchanges will occur at the police station with officers present. Miss Chen, you will not take Noah to your current residence until CPS deems it appropriate. Is that clear? Yes, Your Honor. We'll reconvene in 2 weeks. Court is adjourned. Outside the courthouse, Emily stood on the steps, shaking. Patricia squeezed her shoulder. This isn't over. We can fight this. How? Everything they said is true. I am hiding. There are armed criminals around my son. I can't prove I'm not involved with Adrian. Then we get creative. Patricia's phone rang. She glanced at the screen, frowned. I need to take this. Wait here. Emily watched her lawyer walk away, leaving her alone on the courthouse steps. Miss Chin. She turned. Detectives Brennan and Ortiz approached from opposite directions. Coordinated practice trapping her again. Rough hearing, Brennan said. Sounds like the judge has concerns. What do you want? To help Ortiz's kind cop routine was back. CPS evaluations can go either way. A word from law enforcement about your cooperation. Your character that carries weight. You want me to spy on Adrian? I already told you no. That was before you were in hiding. Before your custody was threatened. Before your son was living with armed criminals. Brennan stepped closer. We can make this go away, Emily. One call to the judge. One statement that you're cooperating with an ongoing investigation. Your custody problems disappear. And all I have to do is betray someone who's protecting me from people you couldn't stop. Betray? You'd be helping us take down a murderer? Brennan's voice hardened. How many people has Black killed? How many families destroyed? And you're protecting him. I'm protecting my son. Then work with us. Help us build a case. When Black's in prison, the threat disappears. You get your life back. Emily looked between them. Two cops offering salvation with one hand, holding a noose with the other. I need to think. Clock's ticking, Brennan said. CPS investigator starts next week. We can make her report glowing or damning. Your choice. They left her standing on the courthouse steps, trapped between impossible choices. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I heard about the hearing. It's being handled. Trust me. Monsieur Emily stared at the message. Adrian was handling her legal problems without asking, without her consent. She wanted to throw the phone. Instead, she called Patricia back. Do you know anything about Adrian Black having lawyers involved in my case? Patricia hesitated. Why would you ask that, Patricia? Do you know? I received a call this morning from a very expensive law firm. They offered to consult on your case pro bono. I assumed you'd arranged it. I didn't. Then someone with a lot of money and influence is trying to help you. And given the circumstances, Patricia sighed. Emily, if Black's people are interfering in your custody case, that's exactly the kind of thing that will destroy you in court. But it was also exactly the kind of thing that might save her. Emily stood on those courthouse steps, realizing she'd already lost. Whether Adrian Black destroyed her or saved her didn't matter. She was his now, whether she wanted to be or not. Adrian made his decision on Sunday morning. I'm going back to the hospital for follow-up, he announced during the security briefing. Tuesday 2:00 p.m. Full detail, standard route. Victor's head snapped up. Sir, that's not wise. You're still recovering, which is exactly why I need medical evaluation. Adrian's tone was casual, but Emily saw the calculation behind his eyes. I've been hiding long enough. Time to show I'm back in control. At least let me change the route, Victor insisted. Use the private clinic instead. Chicago Memorial. Dr. Hayes is expecting me. It's arranged. After the meeting, Emily cornered Adrian in his study. You're baiting them, she said quietly. I'm smoking them out. There's a difference. Not to the person being used as bait. Mateo smiled grimly. I'll have 20 armed guards. I'll be fine. That's what you thought last time. Tuesday arrived with unseasonable warmth, the kind of October day that made Chicago feel almost kind. Emily reviewed the transfer paperwork that morning. Standard medical transport scheduled appointment with Hayes. Routine post-surgical evaluation. Everything looked normal. Too normal. She read the orders again, slower this time. Transfer scheduled for 2 p.m. Ambulance Bay entrance. Patient to be moved to radiology on the 4th floor for CT scan before examination. 4th floor radiology. Emily pulled up Adrian's medical file. His last CT scan was 3 days ago. Results were clear. There was no reason for another scan. Hayes hadn't ordered one. Her pulse kicked up. She called Adrian's cell. It went to voicemail. She tried Marco. No answer. Lena. Nothing. Emily grabbed her jacket and ran. The convoy was already forming when she burst into the estate's motor court. 3 black SUVs, engines running. Mateo emerged from the house with Victor at his side, flanked by guards. "Stop!" Emily shouted. "Don't go!" Every gun turned toward her. She froze, hands raised. "Stand down," Adrian ordered. "Emily, what's wrong?" "The transfer orders. They're wrong." Someone added a CT scanned that wasn't scheduled. Hayes didn't order it. Victor stepped forward. "Medical miscommunication. It happens, it doesn't happen. Not with routine transfers." Emily kept her eyes on Adrian. Someone altered the orders. Why would they do that? Unless they're planning something at the hospital. "She's paranoid," Victor said, but his voice was too controlled. Too careful. "Sir, we're running late." "Which floor is radiology?" Adrian asked quietly. "4th," Emily said with rooftop access. The silence that followed was deafening. Adrian looked at Victor. "Really?" Looked at him. "Did you review the transfer orders?" "Of course, everything checked out." "Who approved the CT scan?" "Hayes's office called yesterday. Said they wanted updated imaging before the examination." "Call them," Adrian ordered. "Verify now." Victor pulled out his phone, but his hand was shaking slightly. He dialed, waited. "It's going to voicemail. Try the hospital directly." Marco made the call, spoke briefly. His face went pale. Hayes's office never called about imaging. "The nurse I'm talking to says the doctor specifically noted that no further scans were needed." Every guard tensed, hands moved toward weapons. Adrian's voice was deadly calm. "Victor, did you alter the transfer orders?" "Sir, I would never." "Did you?" The orders." Victor's hand moved, not toward a phone, toward his gun. Everything exploded. Victor fired first, not at Adrian, but at Marco, who dropped with a cry. Then chaos erupted as half the guards turned on the other half, the ones loyal to Victor against the ones loyal to Adrian. Emily hit the ground as bullets tore through the air. Adrian dove behind an SUV, returning fire with a pistol he'd drawn from somewhere. A guard fell beside her, blood spreading across the pavement. This was Afghanistan. This was the FOB under attack. This was what she'd trained for. Emily crawled to the fallen guard, neck wound arterial. She ripped off her jacket, pressing it against the bleeding. "Stay with me. Keep pressure here." More gunfire. A window shattered. Someone screamed. Adrian appeared beside her, breathing hard. "We need to move." Blood bloomed across his shirt. His stitches had torn. "You're bleeding," Emily said. "I'm aware." "We need." A black helicopter rose above the tree line. Not one of Adrian's. The side door opened and a rifle barrel emerged. "Rooftop sniper wasn't the plan," Mateo said grimly. "They're adapting." The helicopter circled, looking for a shot. Victor and his loyalists had retreated into the house, trying to flush Adrian out into the open. "Can you move?" Emily asked. "Do I have a choice?" She helped him behind better cover, a stone fountain substantial enough to stop bullets. His shirt was soaked with blood. Now the surgical site had completely reopened. "I need to stop the bleeding," she said. "Later, when we're not actively being shot at. If you lose consciousness, we're both dead." Adrian laughed. "Painful, but genuine. You make a compelling argument." Emily worked fast. She packed the wound with cloth torn from her shirt, applied pressure, secured it with his belt. Not proper medical care, but enough to buy time. The helicopter descended lower, emboldened. The sniper was lining up a shot. Lena emerged from somewhere, firing at the aircraft. The sniper flinched back, not hit, but disrupted. "Daniel, set this up," Adrian said through gritted teeth. "Victor's been working with my consigliere, my own advisor. We can analyze betrayal later." Right now, the helicopter landed in the clearing beyond the motor court. 6 men poured out. Professional military-grade equipment, not regular crew, hired killers. "This is bad," Lena said, ducking beside them. "Agreed." Adrian checked his ammunition. "Ideas." Emily looked at the fountain, the SUVs, the positioning. "You said you trust me?" "Yes." "Then when I say run, you run." "Understood." "What are you?" "Understood." Adrian nodded. Emily grabbed a fallen guard's pistol. She'd qualified expert marksman in the army. Hadn't fired a gun in 7 years. Muscle memory better hold. She stood, aimed at the helicopter's fuel tank, and emptied the clip. The helicopter exploded. In the chaos, the fireball, the screaming, the sudden panic, Emily shouted, "Run!" They ran. Lena covering, Adrian stumbling, Emily half carrying him. They made it to a service entrance through the kitchen into a panic room Adrian kept hidden behind the wine cellar. The steel door sealed. Silence descended. Matteo collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. That was insane. That was Tuesday. Emily was already checking his wound. Bleeding but controlled. "You'll live thanks to you again." "We're even now. Twice saved, twice paid." Adrian caught her hand. "We're not even. We'll never be even. You keep choosing to save me when the smart play is to let me die." "I'm a nurse." "Comes with the job description." "No." His eyes were intense. Serious. "This comes from you. And I won't forget it." Outside, sirens wailed. Police, fire trucks, ambulances. The battle was over. And somewhere in that burning estate, Victor and Daniel Caruso would be running, but not for long. The estate burned for 3 hours before the fire department contained it. By then, Adrian had already set his trap. Victor escaped. Lena reported from her position at the hospital. Daniel, too. There, in the wind. No, they're not. Matteo sat in his hospital bed looking pale and weak, convincingly so. The torn stitches were real. The exhaustion was real, but the helplessness was performance. "They think I'm vulnerable, wounded, that the assassination attempt nearly succeeded." Emily finished updating his 4. "You're using yourself as bait again. 3rd time's the charm." He smiled grimly. "Daniel will come. He's too close to victory to stop now." And Victor. "Victor thinks he can take what's mine if he just pushes a little harder. And when they come, we'll be ready." Daniel Caruso made his move. 3 days later, he arrived at the hospital with appropriate concern. Flowers in hand, flanked by 2 bodyguards. The picture of a loyal advisor checking on his wounded boss. Matteo had been moved to a private suite on the top floor, secured, isolated. Exactly where a paranoid crime boss would recover. Victor met Daniel in the hallway, their conversation low and urgent. Emily watched from the nurse's station, pretending to update charts. A small microphone in her pocket, courtesy of Adrian's tech specialist, captured every word. "Barely hanging on," Victor said. "The doctor says he might not make it through the week." "Tragic," Daniel's voice carried false sympathy. "But perhaps it's time to discuss succession. The organization needs leadership. Adrian trusts you. If you recommended me as interim boss, let's discuss it with him." While he's still lucid enough to make decisions, they enter Adrian's room. Emily waited 30 seconds, then followed, pushing a medication cart. Matteo looked terrible, pale, sweating, monitors beeping irregularly. He'd coached himself into displaying every symptom of a dying man. If Emily had known better, she'd be rushing to code him. Daniel Adrian's voice was weak. Good of you to come. Of course, we need to discuss the organization's future. Daniel sat beside the bed. All grandfatherly concern. You're in no condition to lead. Perhaps it's time to step aside. Temporarily, of course. You think I should retire? I think you should rest. Let Victor manage day-to-day operations. Under my guidance, Daniel smiled. You've earned peace, Adrian. Let others carry the burden. And if I refuse? Daniel's expression hardened. Then you force my hand. Lucia's pulse kicked up. This was it. Victor moved toward the door, locking it. His hand went to his jacket. Gun! You were always sentimental, Daniel continued, standing. Your father had the same weakness. He trusted me, too. Right up until the accident that killed him. Adrian's monitors beeped faster. You kill my father. I made sure the brakes failed. Yes, he was going soft. Just like you, Daniel nodded to Victor. The nurse is unfortunate. Collateral. Make it quick. Victor drew his weapon, turning toward Emily. She moved on instinct, grabbed the crash cart, shoved it hard into Victor's legs. He stumbled, gun wavering. She lunged, using every dirty fighting trick from military training, grabbed his wrist, twisted, drove her knee into his groin. The gun clattered across the floor. Victor roared, swinging at her. His fist caught her cheek, stars exploding across her vision. She rolled with a punch, came up with a scalpel from her pocket. Always kept one on hand, and pressed it against Rose's throat. Don't move! Daniel lunged for the fallen gun. Made it 3 steps before Lena kicked the door open, weapon raised. Marco and 6 other guards poured in behind her. You saying something about making it quick? Adrian sat up. No longer weak, no longer dying. He ripped off the heart monitor leads. I've been recording for the past 5 minutes. Your confession about my father. Your attempted coup. All documented. Daniel's face drained of color. Adrian, Daniel Caruso. You've served my family for 30 years, and you murdered my father to position yourself for a takeover that took 3 decades to attempt. Adrian stood, moving carefully but steadily. Victor, you're a disappointment. I trusted you. You're weak. Victor spat, even with Lucia's scalpel at his throat. That nurse made you soft. That nurse just saved my life for the 3rd time. While you were trying to end it, Adrian nodded to Lena. Take them. As guards restrained both men, Adrian pulled out his phone, played a recording. Mark Chen's voice, tiny but clear. How much are we talking? Daniel's voice. 50,000. File for emergency custody. Make it about her criminal associations. We'll feed you information. Mark, and if she fights it, Daniel, we'll make sure CPS finds problems. You'll get your son. She'll be vulnerable. Everyone wins. Lucia's breath caught. Her ex-husband had been bribed. The custody battle, the emergency motion, the CPS investigation, all orchestrated by Daniel to pressure her. I had someone retrieve that from Daniel's phone yesterday, Adrian said quietly. Your ex-husband recorded the conversation himself. Insurance, I suppose. Criminals rarely trust each other. Mark is currently being arrested for conspiracy and accepting bribes to commit perjury. Adrian met her eyes. Your lawyer has the recording. The custody case will be dismissed by Monday. He'll be lucky if he keeps his visitation rights. Lucia's knees went weak. It was over. The betrayal, the custody fight, the trap that had been closing around her from every side, unraveled by one recording. Why? She asked Daniel. Why go after me? Daniel smiled bitterly. Because Adrian cared about you. That made you useful. Control what he cares about. Control him. But you are tougher than expected. He looked at Victor. We underestimated her. You underestimated both of us, Adrian said. That's why you lost. Victor and Daniel were taken to a warehouse south of the city. Emily didn't ask what happened there. Some things were better left unknown. But when Adrian returned the next morning, his organization was purged, secured, and firmly under his control again. The detective team, Brennan and Ortiz, received an anonymous package containing evidence of their attempts to coerce a civilian and leak protected medical information. Internal Affairs would be very interested, and Mark Chin faced conspiracy charges that would make any custody battle impossible. Emily sat in the hospital cafeteria the next day, drinking coffee that actually tasted good for once. Adrian joined her, moving stiffly but healing. "It's over," he said. "Is it? Daniel and Victor won't hurt anyone again." The Salvatore crew accepted a peace offering. "Your custody case is resolved. The detectives are occupied." He smiled slightly. "Yes, it's over." Emily should have felt relief. Instead, she felt exhausted. "What now?" "Now you decide." Adrian met her eyes. "I promised you could disappear. Take Noah and go. I'll keep my word. Or you stay. Not as someone under my protection. As someone I trust, as he hesitated, as a friend." Emily thought of Noah, of their life returning to normal, of the promise she'd made herself to stay away from violence. But she also thought of Adrian's loneliness, of the trust they'd built, of how sometimes the right choice wasn't the safe one. "I'll think about it," she said. And Adrian smiled, real, genuine, reaching his eyes. "That's all I ask." 6 weeks later, autumn had fully claimed Chicago. The leaves in Lincoln Park turned gold and crimson, and the morning air carried the crisp promise of winter. Emily stood in her apartment, her real apartment, the one she had left 2 months ago, packing the last of the boxes. The safe house had been comfortable but never home. Now, with Daniel and Victor gone, with Anoni's custody case dismissed and his visitation reduced to supervised hours, she could finally return. A knock at the door. She checked the peephole. Habit now always checking, and opened it. Adrian stood in the hallway wearing jeans and a leather jacket instead of his usual expensive suits. He looked younger somehow, healthier. The haunted exhaustion that had shadowed his eyes was gone. "I hope I'm not interrupting," he said. "Just packing. Come in." He entered carefully, taking in the modest space. Children's drawings on the fridge, soccer trophies on the shelf, the comfortable chaos of a real home. So different from his estate's cold elegance. "Coffee," Emily offered. "Please." They sat at her small kitchen table, mugs warming their hands. Outside, the city hummed with morning traffic. "Your stitches healed well," Emily observed. "No complications." "Thanks to an excellent nurse," Adrian smiled. "I'm cleared for full activities. The doctors are amazed at my recovery. Military raw trauma care has its advantages." "That's not what I meant," he set down his mug. "I meant you, not just the medical treatment, everything." Emily didn't know what to say to that. "I came to make you an offer," Adrian continued. "Not as a boss, not as someone you're obligated to. Just as someone who's grateful. You already handled my legal problems." That was more than enough. That was justice. Anthony committed. Daniel used him. I simply expedited consequences. Adrian leaned forward. "What I'm offering now is different. Lifelong protection for you and Noah. Not guards following you, not restrictions on your life. Just the knowledge that if anyone threatens you, they answer to me. You go about your normal life. I stay in mine, but you're never vulnerable again." That sounds like a leash with a longer chain. It's insurance with no strings attached. His voice was earnest. "Emily, you saved my life 3 times. You helped me root out traitors who'd have destroyed everything. You asked for nothing in return. That's rare in my world. That deserves protection." Emily studied his face. The sincerity there, but also the loneliness. The same isolation she'd seen that first night when he'd confessed his exhaustion with pretending. "I'll accept your protection, she said slowly. On conditions. Name them first. Noah never knows about your business. If he asks your friend who works in import-export or something equally boring, Adrian nodded. Agreed. Second, no more manipulating my life. No lawyers I didn't hire. No fixing problems I didn't ask you to fix. I make my own decisions. Understood. Third, if I call and say I need help, medical emergency, threat, whatever, you respond. But otherwise, we have normal friendship, coffee, conversations, no debt, no obligation, just friendship. Adrian's smile was soft. I can work with that. They shook hands. An agreement sealed not with violence or money, but with mutual respect. The following Sunday, Emily brought Noah to Adrian's new villa. The old estate was being rebuilt, but he'd purchased something smaller, warmer, less fortress, more home. Noah had been nervous about meeting Mom's friend from the hospital. But the nervousness lasted about 5 minutes. Marco taught him card tricks. Lena showed him pictures of her own kids. A guard named Tony turned out to have played college soccer and gave Noah pointers. Emily watched from the terrace as her son played soccer in the garden, surrounded by reformed criminals who treated him like a beloved nephew. It should have been terrifying. Instead, it felt oddly right. He's a good kid, Adrian said, joining her with 2 glasses of wine. Smart, quick, you've raised him well. I've tried. You've succeeded. Adrian watched Noah score a goal, his men cheering like it was the World Cup. Do you know what the difference is between us? Between my world and yours, about 1,000,000 laws and several moral boundaries? He laughed. Yes, that, but also this. You build things. I maintain them through fear. You create life. I navigate death. You save me not because you had to, but because that's who you are. You could be that person too. No, I've made my choices. There's no redemption arc for someone like me. He turned to her. But maybe I can be better than I was. Make different choices going forward. Emily clinked her glass against his. That's all any of us can do. They stood in comfortable silence, watching Noah play. The sun warmed their faces. The city sprawled below them, beautiful and brutal and full of possibility. Adrian Black had been saved 3 times, twice from death, once from himself. And Emily Chun had found something unexpected in the wreckage of violence. Genuine friendship forged in impossible circumstances. They weren't redeemed, they weren't transformed, but they were changed. And sometimes that was enough. Noah ran up, breathless and grinning. Mom, did you see? I scored 5 goals. I saw champion. She hugged him close. This boy who'd survived his parents' divorce, a custody battle, and briefly living among criminals with his resilience intact. Can we come back next week? Tony says he'll teach me corner kicks. Emily looked at Adrian, who raised an eyebrow. The decision was hers. We'll see, she said. The answer parents give when they mean yes but don't want to commit. Noah cheered and ran back to the game. Thank you, Adrian said quietly. For what? For staying. For trusting me. For showing me what it means to have something worth protecting that isn't built on fear. Emily smiled. You're welcome. They both walked through fire and emerged scarred but standing. The brave single mom and the dying mafia boss, now just 2 people trying to build something good from the ashes of violence. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, but it was real and honest, and theirs. And sometimes that was the best kind of ending of all. In the end, Emily and her son Noah were finally given peace. Adrian Black kept his promise. Once the traitors were dealt with and danger faded, he allowed Emily to walk away, safe and free. But some bonds never truly break. Adrian found himself at times standing near the hospital entrance just to glimpse her smile. And Emily? Though she tried to move forward, her heart remembered the man she saved, and who, in return, had saved her in ways neither of them could yet understand. Their story isn't over. It has only begun.